They thought humanity would break. They were wrong. We were just getting started. The nebula outside the starship Unity spire glowed in swirling waves of blue and silver, like a living ocean suspended in the void. Lieutenant Arif stood at the panoramic observation window, watching the cosmic tides roll past. To anyone else, the view would have felt peaceful, breathtaking, even holy. But to Arif, it felt like the moment before a storm, quiet, cold, and full of dread. He wasn't supposed to feel this afraid. Not when the fate of humanity rested on the decisions he would make today. 6 months ago, the Zolarian Empire had sent a message across human space. Submit or be erased. Their voice was mechanical, ancient, and absolute. It still echoed in Arif's memory like a scar carved into the mind. He breathed out slowly, watching the fog on the glass fade. He wished he could silence the echo. Behind him, Unity spire hummed with controlled chaos, rushing footsteps, fast voices, chirping consoles. The starship's halls were bathed in a soft cerulean glow, making every metallic surface shimmer, as if the ship itself were alive. Holographic panels floated above consoles, displaying shifting maps, power signatures, and tactical diagnostics. Officers hurried between stations with determined faces, but Arif could see it in their eyes. They were scared too. Captain Elia Hall approached him quietly, her boots clicking softly on the metal floor. She was steady, sharp, and always composed. But today, even she carried the weight of something deeper. "Arif," she said, voice softer than usual, "you've been standing here a while. You okay?" He tried to smile. It didn't quite reach his eyes. "I've been thinking," he said. "What if we're wrong? What if this mission ends us?" Elia crossed her arms, staring at the nebula with him. "Fear means you're human," she said. "It means you're aware of the stakes. And right now, we need someone who understands what we're fighting for." He swallowed slowly. He wanted to believe that. He wanted to believe he was the right person. Humanity hadn't asked for war. The Zolarian Empire had forced it on them, a civilization millions of years older, with technologies humans still couldn't understand. The Zolarians believed the galaxy belonged to them alone. To them, humanity was new, weak, emotional, temporary. But they underestimated one thing. Humans learn fast, especially when pushed to the edge. Arif stepped back from the window as glowing orange clouds began to replace the blue nebula outside. They were entering Zolarian border territory. The light in the ship shifted, casting long golden reflections across the deck. "We're close," he said. "Too close," Elia muttered. He tapped the comm on his collar. "All units, enter high alert." The atmosphere changed instantly. Motion became sharper, voices quicker. This mission was simple in concept, impossible in execution. Humanity would not reply to a threat with surrender. Humanity would reply by showing up at the Emperor's front door. No armies. No bombardments. Only a single ship. A message of defiance. They would attempt to speak directly to the Emperor of the Zolarian Empire, the most feared being in the Orion Rim. A being no human had ever seen. Outside, the void flickered. Electric storms twisted like glowing serpents in the distance, ancient cosmic turbulence that the Zolarians called the Crown of Fire. Every pulse lit up the hull of Unity spire in blinding flashes. Arif braced himself as the deck trembled. Then the alarm blared. Science Officer Sana spun toward her console. "Captain, Zolarian interceptors approaching from behind, fast." Arif felt the blood drain from his face. "How many?" he asked. "At least 20. 20 Zolarian fighters, sleek, metallic blue wings cutting through the void like blades. They were close enough now that the sunlight glinted fiercely off their hulls. Elia moved beside him. "They're locking onto us." Arif clenched his jaw. "Prepare weapons, but do not fire." Elia turned sharply. "Arif, they are coming to destroy us." "We're not here for war," he said, forcing the words through his fear. "We're here to talk, to show them humanity doesn't bow, we're eyes." Something flickered in Elia's eyes, doubt, then belief. She stepped back. "Then you lead." For a moment, Arif felt his heartbeat steady. He wasn't fearless. He wasn't perfect. But he was here, standing where no human had ever stood before. The Zalarian ships surrounded them in a perfect circle formation. Arif opened a wideband channel. His voice echoed into the silence. "This is Lieutenant Arif of the human starship Unity Spire. We request an audience with your Emperor. We come not as enemies, but with resolve." The comm crackled. Then a deep, cold voice replied, full of ancient pride. "Human, you ignored our final warning. You dare cross into the Empire's domain? You dare set foot in our sky?" Arif stared straight ahead, his fear finally burned away by something stronger. "Hate us if you want," he said quietly. "But you will hear us. Because humanity does not disappear quietly." He took a breath. "We're here for your Emperor." Silence swallowed the channel. For the first time, Arif felt something inside him shift. He wasn't breaking anymore. He was becoming something stronger. The silence on the comm channel stretched so long that the crew began exchanging uneasy glances. Even the hum of the ship felt quieter, as if the Unity Spire itself was holding its breath. Then, finally, the Zalarian voice returned, slower, colder, more calculating. "Your defiance is irrational and unexpected." Arif felt a knot twist in his chest. Unexpected could mean anything: curiosity, confusion, or preparation to annihilate them. Elia whispered, "Maintain course. Don't flinch." The Unity Spire drifted deeper into Zalarian space, gliding between burning threads of plasma storms. The crown of fire spiraled around them like a living maze. Every flash lit up Arif's eyes, reflecting the storm steadily building inside him too. He didn't know what awaited them. He didn't know if they would live long enough to deliver their message. But he knew one thing: fear was still there. But he wasn't letting it rule him anymore. The comm crackled again. "You will follow our escort," the Zalarian commander finally said. "Any deviation will be considered an attack." 20 interceptors repositioned instantly, forming a gleaming cage around the human vessel. Sana glanced at Arif. "They are hurting us." "I know," Arif said. "But we move forward anyway." Forward. That word felt heavier than ever before. The ship vibrated as it accelerated. A new world slowly emerged ahead, a massive sphere of golden mist, with luminous rings swirling around it like liquid light. Zalarian Prime, home of the Emperor. Even from orbit, the planet radiated power. Giant citadel towers spiraled toward the sky, glowing with crystalline circuits. Rivers of molten silver snaked across the continents. Storms of golden dust surged in the atmosphere, shaping and reshaping patterns that looked almost alive. Arif had seen holograms, but nothing like this. "This place," Sana whispered. "It's beautiful." "Beautiful," Elia said, "and deadly." Arif understood. Beauty often hid danger. And he could feel it now, a pressure tightening in his chest, not physical, but emotional, as if the entire planet radiated contempt for their presence. The comm chimed again. "Human vessel," the commander said. "Prepare for docking. The Emperor has granted you an audience." Arif exhaled, shocked. He wasn't expecting it to be this easy. Nothing was ever this easy. The docking platform emerged like a floating obsidian island above the clouds. Vast pillars circled its edges, glowing with bright sapphire energy. Thousands of Zalarian soldiers, elegant, tall, and silver-skinned with luminous veins, stood in precise formation, holding staff-like weapons humming with blue fire. Arif's throat went dry. "We're walking into the lion's mouth," Elia murmured. "No," Arif said softly. "We're walking in because the lion thinks we're prey." The ship touched down. A sharp hiss echoed as the main ramp lowered. Warm, golden air rushed inside, carrying scents of metallic ozone and foreign minerals. Arif took the first step down, his heart pounding so hard it hurt. He didn't know if he was shaking from fear or determination. Probably both. Zalarian soldiers watched him with emotionless golden eyes. Their presence alone felt like a blade pressed against the throat, silent, threatening, deliberate. One step forward, taller than the rest. Armor etched with symbols that pulsed like breathing light. "The Emperor awaits," he said. Arif swallowed. His crew stepped behind him, Elia, Sana, and 2 security officers. For a moment, Arif wished someone else was leading. Someone braver. Someone stronger. But he was the one chosen. Not because he was perfect, but because he cared enough to be afraid. The Zolarian escort led them through a colossal archway of crystal that refracted sunlight into swirling patterns across the marble-like floor. Each step echoed in a vast hallway lit by pillars of floating light. The Emperor's palace felt ancient, not old, but timeless, as if it had watched centuries rise and fall, without blinking. Sana leaned closer and whispered, "Arif, do you feel that?" He did. A pressure, an awareness, like something enormous was observing them, not from the front, but from every direction. Elia's voice was barely audible. "The Emperor, is he more than what we imagined?" Arif finished. "Yes, I think so." They entered a wide chamber whose ceiling cracked open to the sky. Wisps of golden cloud drifted through like living beings. At the center was a raised platform of obsidian glass, and on it stood a figure. The Emperor. Even from behind, Arif felt the weight of him. Tall, draped in flowing metallic robes, skin radiant like polished silver. His silhouette shimmered with energy arcs that occasionally leapt off him like lightning searching for ground. Slowly, he turned. Arif froze. The Emperor's eyes weren't eyes. They were twin suns, controlled storms of gold, swirling with quiet dominance. Every instinct in Arif screamed to bow, to submit, to run. Instead, he forced himself to take one step forward. The Emperor tilted his head. "A human," he said, voice echoing like 1,000 harmonics. "A fragile creature of dust and emotion, yet you walk into my chamber without trembling." Arif wanted to say, "I am trembling," but instead he replied, "I came to talk, not to kneel." A faint ripple of surprise crossed the Emperor's glowing features. He descended the platform with slow, deliberate grace. "We warned your species once," the Emperor said. "You responded by coming here. Why?" Arif's voice was quiet, but steady. "Because humanity doesn't surrender its future. Not to fear, not to threats, and not to empires." The Emperor stared at him, and for the first time, his light flickered. Not in anger, in curiosity. For a moment, neither Arif nor the Emperor spoke. The sunlight filtering through the golden clouds cast shifting patterns across the obsidian floor, making it feel like the universe itself was breathing around them. Then the Emperor's voice rolled through the hall like distant thunder. "Humanity resists." His glowing eyes narrowed. "Is it bravery or ignorance?" Arif forced himself not to look away. "Maybe both. But we choose our own fate." The Emperor stepped closer, close enough that Arif could feel the heat radiating from him, as if he was standing next to a living star. Every instinct screamed danger, but Arif held still. "You speak boldly for a species so young," the Emperor said. "And yet, something in you trembles." Arif exhaled slowly. "I'm not afraid to admit fear. It means I still care." A flicker, barely noticeable, passed across the Emperor's face. "Emotion," he murmured, almost to himself. "Your kind clings to it." "Because it's our strength," Arif said. But as he spoke, something bothered him, a faint vibration coming from the comm unit hidden in his sleeve. A coded pulse. A human signal. Elia noticed too. Her eyes sharpened. "Arif, someone back home is trying to reach us." The Emperor's gaze snapped toward her, glowing brighter. "No human frequencies are permitted here." Arif raised his hands slightly. "It might be urgent. Let us." The Emperor lifted a finger. The signal died instantly. The comm went silent, dark, dead. Arif felt a chill crawl through him. "That was not a request," the Emperor said. "You are in my realm now, human." Sana quietly whispered, "Arif, something's wrong." He knew. He could feel it too, a sensation like pressure building inside the air itself. The Emperor circled him slowly, studying him like a scientist examining an unfamiliar specimen. "You step into my throne world with courage," he said. "You defy my warnings. You claim your species will not bend." His pacing stopped. "But what if your own leaders already have?" Arif froze. "What are you talking about?" The Emperor raised a hand. A holographic window of golden light appeared, displaying a live communication intercepted from human space. "Admiral Rowan, one of Earth's highest-ranking defense leaders." And he was kneeling. Arif's heart stopped. Rowan's voice echoed through the chamber. We acknowledge the supremacy of the Zolarian Empire. Humanity seeks mercy. We offer full compliance. Elia's breath caught. No, he wouldn't. Sana shook her head violently. That transmission has to be fake. Manipulated. It can't be. But Arif knew it wasn't fake. The details were too real. Rowan's uniform, the emblem behind him, his voice cracking under pressure. The Emperor waved his hand. The hologram vanished. You see now, he said quietly. Your people already bow. You are nothing but dust in the wind. Arif staggered back, as if someone had struck him. No, humanity wouldn't surrender. Not like that. But the doubt crawled in anyway. What if Earth had buckled? What if he came all the way here, for nothing? The Emperor stepped closer, towering over him. I admire your resolve, human, he said. But resolve is useless without power. The words cut deeper than any blade. Arif had spent every moment since leaving Earth trying to believe humanity still stood tall, trying to convince himself that they had a chance. But now, Elia grabbed his arm. Arif, look at me. This is exactly what they want. To break you. Her voice trembled, not in fear, but in desperation. Don't let them, she pleaded. But Arif felt something crack inside him anyway. He had led his crew into the lion's mouth. He had believed humanity still had a voice. He had believed they weren't alone. But Round's surrender replayed in his mind again and again, poisoning everything. What if we're the only ones still fighting? He whispered. The Emperor heard him, and smiled, not cruelly, but with the satisfaction of someone who believed he had won. Your courage was admirable, the Emperor said softly, but you stand alone, human. Your leaders kneel. Your people bend. Your journey ends here. Soldiers stepped forward, weapons lighting up with pulsing blue fire. Elia moved in front of Arif. If you touch him. The Emperor raised a hand, and the weapons dimmed, but the threat remained. Arif felt the weight of everything collapsing. His mission, his hope, his belief that humanity still had a chance. He had come to speak for his people. Now he wasn't even sure if his people still stood behind him. He sank to one knee, not in surrender, but in sheer emotional exhaustion. For the first time since leaving Earth, Arif felt completely and utterly alone. The Emperor watched him quietly. Now you understand, he said. The galaxy breaks all who resist. Arif closed his eyes. Maybe he had been ignorant. Maybe he had been foolish to hope. Maybe humanity had already lost. And he was too late. The battle over Archon 5 was over, but its echoes lived on in every corridor of Central Command. Humanity had won, not by having the strongest ships, but by daring to think beyond every rule the galaxy had engraved in stone. Yet victory had never felt this heavy. General Kale stood alone in Observation Deck 7, overlooking the planet that had become a symbol of everything humans were capable of. Fires still burned in fractured districts, emergency beacons flickered like dying stars, and the shield dome, what was left of it, was a cracked shell clinging to life. He exhaled slowly. Was this triumph, or warning? Behind him, footsteps echoed softly. It was Lyra. They are waiting for you in the council chamber, she said, voice quiet, respectful, but carrying a weight of her own. I know. Kale didn't turn. I just needed a moment to see what all this cost. Lyra stood beside him, her eyes scanning the broken city. We saved the planet, Kale. If we hadn't taken command of the fleet, Archon 5 would be ash. True, he said, but what happens now? The galaxy saw us adapt, fight, and win. They saw us break their prediction systems. They saw us do the impossible. That fear, it's spreading. Lyra hesitated. Fear can become respect. And fear can become war, Kale replied. She didn't argue. They both knew the truth. Humanity had revealed its hand. Now every empire in the galaxy was recalculating the threat. The council chamber was full, delegates, commanders, analysts, and even a few members of other species invited to observe. That word meant little. They were here to judge, to estimate, to measure. Kale entered, and silence fell like a hammer. Admiral Tava of the Akresh leaned forward. General Kale, Your tactics violated 3 interstellar warfare protocols. Effective, yes, but unpredictable, unstable, dangerous. Kale met his gaze. We did what we had to do. Did you? Another alien delegate hissed, her crystalline body flickering. You changed fleet formations every 12 seconds. You shut down targeting grids only to reactivate them in random bursts. You made decisions no algorithm could follow. That's humanity, Kale said simply. We improvise. And that, the delegate snapped, is what terrifies us. A murmur swept through the chamber. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Counselor Darren, an elder human, addressed the room. Every species here has built its military doctrine on predictability. Strategies that work because they always follow a pattern. Wars that are simulations long before they are battles. But humans, we don't work like that. We experiment. We change. We act from instinct, emotion, intuition, the things your systems can't measure. He gestured toward Kale. This man saved a world because he refused to be a machine. A silence spread again, deeper this time. One of the alien observers finally spoke. His voice was calm, almost curious. If humanity can think and act beyond prediction, how do we trust you? Kale stepped forward. Trust isn't built on knowing what someone will do. It's built on knowing what someone won't do. And what is it that humans will not do? The alien asked. Start a war without reason, Kale said. Conquer for pride. Destroy for sport. Humanity fights only when pushed, threatened, or cornered. But if you try to erase us. His voice hardened, becoming steel. We will fight with every ounce of creativity that makes us who we are. Some delegates stiffened. Others nodded with quiet respect. Lyra watched the room carefully. This was the real battlefield, not lasers or ships, but perception, reputation, fear, hope. And Kale was navigating it as deftly as he had navigated the war. Hours later, the council dismissed. No official verdict, no declaration of trust or threat, only a lingering tension that hung like a storm waiting to break. Kale and Lyra walked the quiet hallways of the Citadel. You handled that well, Lyra said. I handled it honestly, Kale replied. But honesty doesn't calm fear. She looked at him. Maybe it doesn't have to. Maybe humans being unpredictable isn't a curse. Maybe it's why we're still alive. Kale half smiled. You think unpredictability is our gift. I think it's our identity. They stepped out onto a balcony, wind brushing past them as Archon 5's fractured skyline glowed in twilight. Lyra continued, every species here has rules written over centuries. But we're new. We're still learning, still evolving. That scares them, but it also inspires them. They watched humans survive the impossible today. They'll never admit it, but deep down. She paused. They wish they could be like us. Kale looked out at the horizon, a world damaged, but not defeated. Then maybe, he whispered, our job isn't just to win battles. Lyra's eyes softened. Maybe it's to show the galaxy what it means to be human. The wind carried the smoke of dying fires and the faint hum of rebuilding machines. A bruised world. A frightened council. A species that refused to fit into any prediction. Humanity had stepped into legend, not because it was perfect, but because it was impossible to define. And legends are always just the beginning. The chamber was silent, almost impossibly still. Arif stood at the center, facing the Emperor who had once seemed untouchable, a being whose presence alone had threatened to crush him. Now, the silence pulsed like a living thing, thick with anticipation. Every officer, every soldier, every Zalarian observer could feel the tension, waiting to see if humanity would break or transcend. Arif's knees ached from hours of standing, but he straightened, drawing a deep breath. Fear had not disappeared. It never would completely, but something far stronger had taken root, resolve. You still doubt me, Arif said quietly, but loud enough for the Emperor to hear. You think one species alone can make a difference in this galaxy. You think humans are weak. You think I'm alone. The Emperor tilted his head, the golden storm of his eyes swelling. And yet here you are, trembling. Yes, Arif admitted. I am trembling. But trembling does not mean surrendering. The Emperor's laugh was low, almost a growl. The walls of the chamber vibrated. Bold words for a creature standing in front of an immortal empire. Arif glanced behind him at his crew. They were exhausted, tense, yet unwavering. Elia's eyes met his, and in that single glance, he drew strength. Not just for himself, but for all of humanity. Then, he did something no one expected. He reached for the control on his wrist, a small device the Zolarians hadn't noticed. The signal it emitted was faint, almost imperceptible. But within seconds, a wave of energy rippled through the chamber. The Emperor staggered back. His golden eyes fled, confused and alarmed. "You dare," the Emperor roared, his voice shaking the air. Arif didn't answer with words. He acted. Every human on the ship had trained, strategized, and studied alien technology, but only Arif had combined instinct with understanding. The energy pulse grew, not as a weapon, but as a display. Systems overloaded, the chamber's crystalline walls flickered with human-generated light. Every Zolarian device, every monitoring system, registered something unpredictable. "This," Arif said calmly, "is what humans do when cornered. We adapt. We innovate. We survive." The Emperor, for the first time, seemed genuinely startled. He had encountered countless species, calculated probabilities, predicted outcomes, but never had he faced someone so unbound by expectation. Arif's courage, combined with ingenuity, defied every algorithm the Empire relied upon. A tense silence followed. Then the Emperor lowered his arms slightly. His aura still burned with power, but there was a flicker, respect, curiosity, something that humanity had never seen from this being. "Impressive," the Emperor said. His voice was quieter, more deliberate. "You have shown power and audacity, but it will not save your people if I strike tomorrow." Arif's lips curled into a faint smile. Power is not only in weapons. Power is in spirit. It is in the unwillingness to bend, to surrender, to be predicted. The Emperor's eyes narrowed, studying him. Then slowly, he stepped back onto the raised platform, his massive form receding. "Perhaps your species has potential. Perhaps your kind is worth observing." Arif exhaled slowly, relief and adrenaline mixing in a wild pulse. His crew gathered around him, expressions odd and tense. Elia placed a hand on his shoulder. "You did it," she whispered. "No," he corrected gently. "We did it. Humanity did it." The Emperor spoke again, voice carrying through the chamber like rolling thunder. "I have underestimated you, human. And that will be remembered." Arif's heart pounded. The threat was still real. The Zolarian Empire had not vanished. But a line had been drawn. Humanity had proven something extraordinary. They were unpredictable, resilient, and unyielding. A species no calculation could fully contain. As they exited the chamber, sunlight spilled through the massive crystal windows, casting prismatic colors across the floor. The crew laughed softly, relief breaking through exhaustion. The world outside the palace shimmered. Golden clouds, glowing rivers, and floating towers reflected a galaxy that had just witnessed human audacity. Elia looked at Arif. "What now?" she asked. He paused, glancing at the distant horizon. "Now, we keep walking forward. We rebuild. We fight when we must, speak when we can, and always remind the galaxy that humanity is not fragile. We are alive, and we are unbroken." Sana smiled faintly. "Unbroken. I like that." Arif nodded. "It's more than a word. It's a promise. To ourselves, to Ith, and to every human who believed we could rise." They stepped into the light. Outside, the winds of the alien world swirled, carrying the scent of something new. A galaxy that had feared them now watched closely. A galaxy that would no longer take them for granted. Arif felt the weight of the journey, the battles, the betrayals, and the fear, and yet he felt lighter than ever. Because humanity had faced the impossible, stared down an empire, and survived. And in that survival, in that defiance, they had found something far greater than victory, the truth of who they were. The Emperor watched silently from his platform, and for the first time, Arif knew the galaxy would never underestimate humanity again.